they joke that you're Biden's strongest soldier, but you've been an outspoken supporter. You've defended his presidency. How do you feel about his decision to drop out? Do you care? What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, everything's happening. I think the next big meme now is who's the VP pick is going to be.
Do you have is there like a Destiny's favorite?
I mean, my guess is, isn't strategy generally to try to shore up a swing state? Isn't that the goal? Like a Michigan?
So I would think, yeah, or like a really weak cohort. So you could have Whitmer out of Michigan. You could have Tony Evers out of Wisconsin. You could have Governor Shapiro out of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Does drawing a governor from here put at risk having another Democratic governor in one of these states for Shapiro or Whitmer?
It's a good question. So I don't know how it works in those states. So like Kentucky, which is the state I lived in before, North Carolina, the lieutenant governor and the governor are elected on a joint ticket. So for Kentucky, you have Andy Beshear, who is also, his name has been thrown around too. Mm-hmm. He's a Democrat, and his lieutenant governor, whose name escapes me, she was elected with him, kind of like the president and vice president. But in North Carolina, where I live now, you have a Democratic governor, Roy Cooper, and an insane Republican lieutenant governor who is elected separately. So to your point, or I guess one of the questions raised is like, if you pull one of these Democratic governors, presumably the lieutenant governor would be the one who automatically takes their place, right? And I don't know anything about the lieutenant governors in those states, mm-hmm. if they're like Republican or not. If they're Democrat, we're it's golden, right? We're good. But yeah, it would be interesting that if they pull a Democratic governor, and then that crucial swing state falls into the hands of a Republican lieutenant governor. That'd probably be a bad idea.
And then help me here. Why do we care about what's the big concern federally for Republican governors? Is that they would have like a large influence over the state legislatures when it comes to things like gerrymandering or how they do votes for elections, or the governors don't have any influence on the federal level aside from like how voting is done, right?
Correct. Yeah. So governors have like no federal duties or anything like that. But if you have, so like Pennsylvania, for example, I think they have a bicameral state legislature, and I think they're both now in the hands of Democrats. Mm-hmm. But a Republican governor would be able to veto, legislation, stuff like that. And so you could imagine a situation where a Democratic state legislature would want to make it easier for people to vote, and a Republican governor would have it in their vested interest for that not to be the case.
Gotcha.
Depress voter turnout. Yeah, I don't know. See, the problem is I don't know enough about like the constituent, like the how the polling is for these governors, like where they're strongest.
Sure.
Because the other thing you want to do is not just pull potentially from swing states, but you want to pull in candidates who can compensate for where you're weak in terms of the electorate. And I just don't know enough about any of them, like where they're really, really weak. Like President Biden was struggling with younger voters compared to 2020. But that might be addressed by Harris because she's seen as younger, and she might not be perceived to have the baggage associated with Gaza. So I don't know, man. It's like the Wild West, isn't it? The Supreme Court decision, an assassination attempt, that debate, and now this. We are living in historic times.
Yeah, they seem to have been since 2007 onwards. every day is a new historical event. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So here's where I'm curious what you think. We say, especially since 2016, that every election is the most consequential. Mm-hmm. Do you think history will look back and say it was 2024, 2020, or 2016? Because I still think you can make a really good argument that 2016 was kind of like the hinge point of modern American politics because it allowed Trump to take the White House. What do you think? Do you think that of the 3 election cycles that you've really been covering politics, which one does your gut say in hindsight will be seen as the most consequential?
Ask me in 2030, and I'll give you a good answer. The problem is that if a Democrat wins this election, and if Trump ages out, then I think we probably look back and we say like 2024 or maybe even 2020 was the most important. But like say Trump wins this election and we start going further down the path of like destroying the country, then 2016 probably becomes the most important one because that's when it all that was the hinge point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you're following all these like Supreme Court cases, and obviously would you say you have, I don't want to use the word appreciation. But is your conception of how powerful and important the Supreme Court is, right or wrong? Do you think it's changed since you've dove into these cases?
I mean, everything has changed as I've gotten more civics pilled. I just didn't really understand anything about how any part of the government works. I don't know if you do this for your videos already, or maybe it's just appropriate for my audience, or maybe just for me. Maybe I'm uniquely don't understand. But like every single time I read a thing, like I always try to look up like where does this fit into everything. Like what are the offices in the government and like who does what or whatever. Like I always go back and I'll always Google and I'll always look it up and I repeat it over and over again. And I don't know if my audience is supportive of it or not, but it helps to reinforce these concepts in my mind. Having a better conception of like the structure of the government and how things are supposed to function has allowed me to understand some things so much better than I could before. And I think it's worth repeating some of those things. Like that phone call to Raffensperger was so...
Oh, the 11,870 vote.
That's not even like the worst part about it. Just the idea that a private citizen is calling not a governor, it was the state secretary with his personal lawyers on the phone, demanding them to hand over voter information that they wouldn't even give to the federal government because it's the state's information, and then making threats saying that, well, you know, these schmucks won their last elections when I supported them. They're definitely not winning next time, right? It's right. On so many levels, it was already bad because like you said, that like, we'll find these votes. We just need this many votes to win. But like having a better conception of like the structures of all the governments and like how these things are supposed to deal with each other makes it so much worse and so much more disgusting and so much more inappropriate. Having that understanding, Jesus. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting on that phone call. I want to say there's like a full recording of it that was released like a year ago or something like that. It's like an hour and a half long or something like that. But anyway,
the Raffensperger call.
Yeah.
Yes, we listened to the entire phone call last night. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
The entire thing. Yep. Trump repeated like 20 different debunked bullshit allegations. He leaned really heavily into that Ruby Freeman thing. Did you see how that court case resolved, by the way?
The Ruby Freeman Shea Moss case?
Yes. You need to remember this. You need to say this to every single person that talks to you about this, okay? When Republicans get accused of wrongdoing, it's always the same playbook. Donald Trump said, I need criminal immunity. Alex Jones said, I had a psychosis. I didn't mean any of it. Fox News said, we don't want to say anything. We're just going to settle. We understand. We f***ed up completely. What was the last thing? Oh, and for Ruby Freeman, Giuliani said, excuse me, I did lie, but it's my First Amendment right to lie. Right? People need to know this, okay? It's not the same on both sides. Both sides did not do these, right? The Republican playbook is insane. It's unhinged. That was Rudy Giuliani's defense. He said, I lied, but that's my First Amendment right to lie. And then he lost that case for $148 million. Like, it's insane. Yeah.
And then he tried to declare bankruptcy, and the judge threw it out too. There's this
because they lied about his assets. He tried to do Chapter 11, right? So he could restructure. Then he tried to convert it to a Chapter 7 so that he could wipe away all his debt and just hold on to a couple assets. But then he lied about money that he was making in other businesses. Giuliani, these crooks, literally crooks.
That's America's mayor, baby. That was the heir apparent of the Republican Party back in 2001. He was the future. No, I mean, you're right. Listen, I totally agree. The asymmetry, that's something I complain about a lot on my channel, and it's something that represents a long-term problem and risk to this country that we have to break. Like, you know, I understand that people are spending a lot of time, I don't want to say woke scolding you, but like calling you out for some of like the incendiary shit that you said. But to me, I think the sentiment behind it, like, hey, if we're going to have a good faith conversation, it has to be reciprocated, and we have to hold both sides to the same standard, because that's the only way you can ever accurately evaluate anything, is by holding it to the same standard that you do the other things. That is a major issue, and we're not going to be able to progress as a country, in my opinion, until we make serious strides towards it. But you know, getting back to the phone call thing that you mentioned, you said that, you know, it was a private citizen calling with his attorneys. And what's so interesting about that, though, is obviously Trump wasn't doing that in his capacity as president, because the president plays no role, none, in the peaceful transfer of power and
correct.
You know, and those things.
Let me say further, okay, that because people might argue this, it's inarguable, okay? When Donald Trump called Raffensperger, he had with him his personal legal counsel. Yeah, Mark Meadows was there as well, his chief of staff, but it was his personal legal counsel. It wasn't a phone call with his AG. It wasn't a phone call with his deputy AG. And it wasn't his phone call with any of the investigators in the FBI. It was his personal legal counsel. That was a personal phone call that he was making to try to get them to give personal information or voter information to his campaign, his personal stuff. That was not a phone call that was made in the capacity of the president of the United States in any size, shape, or form. But yeah.
Do you remember? I'm trying to think who was Attorney General. Did Barr retire at that time? Because I can't remember the timeline of the phone call. It was either late 2020 or early 2021. Bill Barr may have already stepped down at that point. But yeah, I mean, like most of his.
I can track real quick. The phone call was on January 2nd. The Raffensperger phone call. So.
And Bill Barr served. Okay, so Bill Barr left.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Barr was gone by December 23rd. So I can't remember who took his place, but most of the people, like Bill Barr is a good example of this because he obviously opposed everything that Trump said. So that's probably another reason, even if he wanted to enlist, Justice Department officials, I can't imagine many would co-sign the shit that Trump was alleging. But what's interesting is, though, again, you make a point, he's operating in his capacity as a private citizen. But can you imagine the fucking pressure that Raffensperger and Kemp felt? Because, yes, he's doing it as a private citizen, but he's also simultaneously the president of the United States. And to get that phone call from your party leader and the most powerful man on earth who is operating so nakedly, self-servingly.
Yeah, you don't have to imagine. There are 3 separate quotes on that call where he talks about how these guys ran. I think Kemp was one of these. Yeah, Kemp ran. He was a loser. He was a schmuck, I think he called him. He had no chance until I showed up and I helped him. And the people of Georgia are going to be very mad. So there were 3 different times on that phone call where he alluded to, you're going to lose your next elections, guys, because I'm not going to be helping you. And there was a time on that phone call where Donald Trump, who is the head of the executive branch, who's arguably who appoints the head of the Justice Department, the Department of Justice, who does investigations, is saying things to him about how, hey, by the way, this is criminal, and you know what's happening here.
Right.
Yeah.
And now years later, you get a Supreme Court ruling which says that any potential correspondence that a future President Trump would have with a future Attorney General who is not like Bill Barr, for any sort of sham investigation that would result from that to punish a disloyal Republican governor, you can't probe that. That's absolutely immune, and you couldn't probe that. I mean, to me, the decision today, which I don't know how you feel about it. I am curious how you feel about Biden's decision to step down. I've been agnostic about it. I didn't celebrate with this decision, nor was I dreading it, because to me, the stakes are the same and the outcome is the same in the sense that I don't care who the fuck. They could run a dog. You know what I mean? They could just it could be Air Bud, the president version, and I would still vote for that person and try to make a compelling case for it because Trump has to be defeated. And I imagine that's where you are too. I imagine there's probably not a Democrat in office, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, that you would not squarely sit behind to beat Trump. Is that how you feel?
That I would, yeah. Well, I'd say, yeah. I mean, unless before, but somebody's going to post now, well, what about this Democrat here who actually is pro launching all the nukes and he's like the fucking state assembly rat? Yeah. But in general, yeah, I think I probably agree, yeah.
Do you, how do you feel about the decision of him dropping, personally? Because they joke that you're Biden's strongest soldier, but you've been an outspoken supporter. You've defended his presidency, as have I. And how do you feel about his decision to drop out? Do you care?
I mean, I think I've said it over the past week. I'm just my biggest issue is for people that talk about the dropout. They pretend that the path forward is so easy after he drops out, and I don't. I think it's super variable. I think it could be really good. It could be really bad. My opinion is the exact same as it was yesterday. I think that he had to drop out, though, because it's pretty obvious that a lot of the party wants him to drop out, right? There's so much stuff getting leaked to the media. That's not happening on accident. They're trying to apply a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Do you? Well, I agree. I think that this was. I went live very briefly just a few minutes ago, and then Econoboi joined, and like I said, I'm agnostic about it. I saw a risk no matter what, and there was data to back up either decision. And even this decision is risky. I mean, he has officially endorsed the vice president, but he also weeks ago said his delegates could vote for whomever they want. I imagine most, if not all of them, will go over. I don't know if you saw this, though. Republicans are threatening and have been threatening for weeks when it looked like this might happen to put up legal challenges to try to block any, I don't know what their basis would be or whatever, but Mike Johnson.
You know what would be the ultimate? You know what? Here's what I will say. Ready?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm trying to think if I want to commit to this. Make a strong statement about leaving the country.
Don't do it. No, don't do it.
If they were to throw up some legal challenge in some state saying that Biden can't be removed to the ballot, or that the Democrat can't be added to the ballot, and the Supreme Court were to hold that, I think I would bounce. If that happened, I think I would bounce. Or I can't say it because I'm on YouTube. Never mind. I would bounce. I would just leave. I think that would be unbelievable. That would be unfathomable. And I could see Roberts doing it. I could see him writing that opinion. Or Thomas writing the majority opinion. Okay, is going to explain why it's actually really important that Biden not be removed from the ballot and Kamala Harris can be added to the ballot. I'd be. All
right, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate because I'm not seeing your chat, and I don't believe this. I agree with you that this is perfectly possible. But what do you say to people who inevitably on Twitter and on Reddit and maybe even in DGG say, Stephen, you're just catastrophizing. There's no way, given the stakes, that even Roberts would make a decision like, the Democratic candidate, the Democratic nominee can't be added to the ballot because it's like past the deadline or whatever. There's no way they would take it that far, you would say.
You know the story about the lobster boiling in the pot, right? I don't even know if that's how they actually die. But the issue is when things happen that are crazy, you only really know that retrospectively. It's hard to see crazy things happening as they happen. I think that we're already way past crazy shit happening. But because it's also gradually done and because we're inundated with so much news, you don't really perceive it. I think crazy things have already happened that are unacceptable.
Agreed.
So, why would it not continue? What you're basically saying is aren't you catastrophizing by thinking that the country's going to head in the exact same direction that it's been heading, that the guy who's running for president, who's the most self-serving person who's ever been president, would continue to be self-serving to head in that? Did you read? I've read so much. I hate the Vivans. I just want to play video games and be a shit poster.
No, dude.
Did you read the full? Did you read the full back and forth? Everything that happened with Clark, Trump, Rosen, and Donahue.
Which one was one of them? Mike Pence's attorney or chief of staff?
No. Okay. This whole scenario, any one of these all of this is insane. But any one of these things on their own is insane. It should be. I say impeachable, but I think criminally prosecutable. Okay. Keep in mind, and I also want you to keep this in mind. Don't ever fucking forget this. Okay. Keep this in mind. Okay. Have your permanent recorder turned on right now. Everything I'm about to tell you, you will never know about again, ever, because now this is all beyond criminal review. So you would never get a probe, you'd never get an inquiry, you'd never get subpoenas. All of this is beyond criminal review, okay? So everything I'm about to say, you'll never hear about this again if a president tries this, all right? Remember that, because that's what the conservatives want, that's what the court wants, and that's what the 6 conservative justices on the court signed off on, okay? Or at least 5 of them. Donald Trump, okay, was mad that Barr wouldn't co-sign his bullshit opinion about the election being stolen, right? Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is going to every person in his government trying to say, hey, can you please, guys, the election was stolen, right? And everybody's like, dude, we've looked into all of this. It's bullshit. I'm sorry, right? The CISA head guy ended up, I think, stepping down. I think Trump forced him to resign. Eventually, Barr resigned.
Chris Krebs?
Krebs, because Barr resigned. He's like, fuck this is retarded, right? So Donald Trump has an acting, right, because none of these people are confirmed by the Senate. He has his acting attorney general, Rosen. He has his deputy acting attorney general, Donahue. And then there is a guy who is, there's a guy who works as an attorney in the, what is it? It's like the environmental protections part of the DOJ, right?
Okay.
Donald Trump goes to Donahue and Rosen, and Donald Trump is like, hey, I got an idea. Can you just send letters to these 7 states and tell them that we found really good evidence of voter fraud and we're still investigating it, so you guys kind of need to toss your election for now, and maybe we'll come back to it, we'll revisit in a few weeks. And obviously, Donahue and Rosen are like, no, this is fucking retarded. We're not going to do this. And Donahue and Rosen are, they're chilling, they're on their bed, kicking their feet up, drawing pictures and hanging out and doing whatever attorney generals and deputy attorney generals do. And this guy, Clark, starts like wandering into their office, like chatting with them, like, hey guys, what's up? Do you guys think that we should do, maybe we should do something about this Trump stuff, or, maybe we should actually tell the states that there's some fucked up shit. And they're like, wait, how the fuck do you even know this? Why the fuck are you even? And then Trump starts mentioning Clark's name. And now they're asking, they're like, why is Trump mentioning your name? Why the fuck does Trump even know who the fuck you are? Like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, me and Trump, we go way back by like 3 days. So we've been having conversations. And at some point, Clark, because Trump is asking his deputy and his attorney general over and over again, he's like, can you please write these bullshit letters? One day, Clark comes up to Donahue and Rosen, and Clark says, hey, can you guys promote me, add somebody in under me so my rank is more impressive, and then can you sign this letter? And Rosen and Donahue look at it, and the letter is what Trump wants them to say, right? It's the lie of like, oh yeah, we found big voter fraud. Can you guys toss your election out? And both of them are like, we are never signing anything like this. And then Clark is like, okay, that's fine, but maybe I'll be the attorney general next. And then
so that part I recall, where he basically says this is their subordinate, basically saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to be your replacement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all of this culminates in one of the funniest. You've got the J6 committee report of it, which is insanely epic and hilarious. No, it's an epic confrontation. But then you've got Hirschman's deposition, where he's recounting this. And all of this culminates in this crazy event where basically Donald Trump is going to fire the attorney general, and he's going to install Clark as the attorney general, who has no background in he never done a criminal case in his life, okay? So that Clark will send out this letter to all of the states, the swing states, get them to flip their votes. And so so Donahue. It's like 7 different people, but Donahue, Rose, and a bunch of other people all go to the Oval Office. They start contacting everybody in the DOJ, okay? And then they go to Trump, and they all have this conversation, like, just so you know, like, half of your State Department or half of your DOJ is about to resign, okay? If you're seriously going to replace us. Clark is giving the most impassioned speech in his world, arguing why he should be the Attorney General. Hirschman is here, like, shouting him down as a fucking retard. Hirschman's like, what are you planning on doing when you become Attorney General? And Clark's like, well, I'm going to write this letter and do that. And then Hirschman is like, he's like, oh, so you've never heard of like, what is it, like Rule 63? You understand you're going to commit a felony day one, right? Like, maybe you should go back to the DOJ, and when we have like a question about oil spills, we'll call you. Like, Hirschman is saying all of this in his deposition. And it's just insane fucking play of like crazy shit. This one thing in and of itself is just insanely unhinged and crazy, right? This is just one of like 15 different unbelievable things. Did you know that there's a leaked phone call of Donald Trump calling the election fraud investigator in Georgia? He's calling her in a 6-minute call, and he's like, hey, just calling to say that I know you're a great person and you're doing great work, and I know you're going to find the voter fraud that we're looking for. Good luck, right? Why is he making that? Why does he even have her number?
There's one, I want to make sure I get the state right, but I think it's Michigan. And this broke like within the past 6 months, but you had Trump, and then you had the Ronna McDaniel, Mitt Romney's niece, and she was the head of the Republican National Convention at the time and until recently. They were also calling election certifiers as well, or like people are on the boards of these election commissions, asking them to basically walk back their votes to certify Biden's victory in that particular state. And I'm pretty sure it was Michigan. So he did it apparently in multiple states. I forgot about the Georgia one. Yeah, I mean, the shit's crazy. It really is. And any of these individual things, like Steve Bannon, one of Trump's advisors, said that, you got to flood the zone with shit. And they've done it so well because, to your point, any of these things, if they were given just adequate media attention, would potentially kill a political career of any politician, and should. Right? And even in today's media environment, you could just scratch out the names and the circumstances and just put Biden in. And even in 2024, even though the media's gotten used to Donald Trump, this same story with the same set of facts would destroy any Democrat.
These are the things. Yeah. Oh my God, bro. I read the 160-page, most of these are slides. Have you actually gone over all of the Dominion presentation?
Not the whole thing. There was the court filings, which prior to the
bro, the Dominion shit. Hold on, I'm gonna send you this. You can read through some of this in your free time. It is. because I asked the chat, I was like, is there like a log of, I just want to see some of these leaked.
You're talking about the leaked texts and stuff like that? Yeah, they were released in court filings, I think piecemeal. I don't even think it was in just one filing until later on.
Yes, but there's a whole thing. Fuck. Sorry, keep going. I'm going to find this.
No, yeah, I mean, they were absolutely damning. And that's another thing too.
No, wait. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Just because you're underselling everything. Pisco's been underselling everything. I've been underselling everything, okay? We've all been underselling everything, okay? They're not damning, okay? These are beyond dead to rights, okay? If you ever get bored, all right, you should go through, I don't know who the attorneys that they hired for this, bro, this is, have you ever heard of, like, for instance, like, have you heard of the Brain Room?
The Brain Room? No.
Fox News, they have an entire fact-checking department that works really hard. Every single exec at Fox News and every single host at Fox News knew that they were spreading bullshit. Mm-hmm. They knew that they were spreading lies. They were admitting all of it in the background, but they were also admitting that we're losing our viewers to Newsmax. We have to have them on. Right. We've got to bring these people on. Meanwhile, like all of them are saying shit like, what was it? There was one in here where it was like Sidney Powell. I think yesterday she was on like ketamine, mushrooms, and LSD. There's no way. Like this bitch is fucking crazy. Like literally, it is insane how much is. They knew.
And not only it would be bad enough if it were just from the Tucker Carlsons and Laura Ingrams or whatever, but you even had, I'm pretty sure Brett Baer, who is supposed to be like one of their Chris Wallace straight news journalists, like even he was in on it too. Like, hey, maybe we should call this thing into question in order to get viewer share back. I mean, it's poisoned the entire network. And the other thing too, just to kind of capitalize on this, when the Dominion text dropped, and obviously it was a bombshell, it went off. One of the points that I was making, you want to talk about the double standards and the asymmetry. Obviously, media networks get shit wrong. There's no question. Obviously, there are probably times where they have knowingly spread misinformation. And the thing is, though, what sets Fox apart here is we have no evidence of, like, CNN. Like, people talk about, like, well, CNN, what it did to the Covington Catholic kids.
No, careful. There's one thing that every conservative, if there are any left in my chat that I haven't banned yet, is going to bring up, and it's the, was it Donna Brazil? They handed debate questions off for a Democrat primary.
That was in secret, Stephen. It's the opposite of what you're talking about. We're talking about public lies to the people. That was a secret backdoor.
But I'm just saying that, like, in terms of like them picking and choosing a candidate and being biased or whatever, that's the one that always go to.
I'm sorry. To be clear, I'm actually not making that case, because I have no doubt that, you know, these journalists and these, you wouldn't call Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson journalists, but like these pundits obviously have their biases. That's fine, right? I don't mind that Tucker Carlson is a pro-Trump bias, except for just on the merits of it. Mm-hmm. He's entitled to that.
For sure.
But we have never seen something so pervasive and systemic and dishonest as the Dominion voting machines. People say, well, CNN, you know, with the Covington Catholics, the kids, and the misrepresentation of that whole thing. There was nothing like this. Like, they had to pay nearly $1 billion. It was like $787 million in a defamation suit. And Pisco's the attorney here. I'm not. But my understanding is it's really, really hard to prove this sort of defamation case in an American.
The biggest of all time against a major news network.
Right.
It's
millions.
Right.
And there were messages going around, just as a quick one, from Jay Wallace. And these are all people. This is the president, executive editor of Fox News Media, right? Emails going around when they're talking, okay? Jay Wallace sending a message to Suzanne Scott, who's another exec or VP or something, right? Thank you.
She was their CEO.
I watched Lou closely for 2 weeks during the conventions. The North Koreans do a more nuanced show. Like, there are so many crazy emails, and they're just talking about all of this.
Yeah.
All of this.
And there's nothing like it that we have any evidence of from MSNBC, CNN.
The Twitter files had nothing like this, by the way.
Right.
And Matt Taibbi, okay, the hack fuck loser, even he said in his tweets.
Calling you out, Matt.
Even he said in his tweets that I saw no evidence of the government intruding to try to censor the laptop story. Zero evidence of any government intrusion on that, by the way. But conservatives will still repeat that lie over and over and over again, right?
Right.
And keep in mind also, hold on. I saw some conservatives type this. Okay, keep this in mind, because they're lying. They're sneaky. Conservatives will tell you, oh, that's why I don't listen to Fox News, because I know they do fake news. No, they don't listen to Fox News because they wanted them to do more fake news. That was why they left Fox News. And that's
insufficiently
why
fake.
Fox News was lying about this, is because they were losing their audience to Newsmax and OAN. And they say it over and over again. We're losing viewers to Newsmax. Yeah. They're taking it. But they even say, because they know that these are lies and bullshit, okay, between Peterson and Schreier, okay, I turned it off. I don't know how we work here. Honestly, we're going to look back at this week and know that this is when we lost a significant part of our audience who won't come back. As soon as Facebook starts telling people to go to Newsmax. You know, though, between us, this is a problem for the channel, yes, but if we keep doing what we do, FBN will get a bunch of the disenfranchised folks too. They're talking about people leaving because they won't broadcast fake news, by the way. 100%. I was talking about exactly that with my husband last night. It's actually an opening for us. Yes, we just can't play for it openly like Newsmax and OAN. Because Fox News was a mainstream media corporation that did have a fact checker part of their corporation, and they knew all of it was lies. They knew all of it was bullshit, but they still told it to you. Every part of this was bullshit.
You know what else they did?
What else did they do?
Called the Arizona election the earliest of any network.
True.
And the right never forgave them for that.
No, that's why they made these plays. They explicitly referenced that in these filings. I believe
Brett Baer, I think it was Brett Baer was the one, or somebody like that was like, maybe we should walk this back or like retract it to satisfy the viewers. I do remember that.
Yep. This is from testimony from Murdoch. It is fair to say that you seriously doubted any claim of massive election fraud. Oh, yes. Are you and you seriously doubted it from the very beginning? Yes, I mean, we thought everything was on the up and up. I think that was shown when we announced Arizona. And they talk about that, yeah, after the Arizona announcement, Donald Trump put them in their sights. Because remember, if you say no to the king, he will fucking destroy you. And you saw this happen to conservative after conservative, to the rhinos that are no longer considered part of MAGA America, to anybody in media that wouldn't play Trump's tune, to the note that he will turn against you and he will try to destroy you. Yeah. Like even here from Rupert Murdoch, okay? From Rupert Murdoch, all right?
Australian scum!
November 6th, okay, 2020, all right? Half of what Donald said was good. The other half, bullshit and damaging. Big media, big money, and big tech all against him and his vote. In spite of this, a mighty achievement, but conspiracy with pollsters? No, the latter is simply incompetent. Perhaps many run by Dems, but so what? Giving big money's not a conspiracy. Turns out it's mainly a waste. With several states now disappointingly favoring Biden, it's hard to claim there's foul everywhere, right? Every exec knew this. Every exec knew that all these claims were bullshit. All the Sydney stuff was fucking crazy. The Kraken was bullshit. All of this is bullshit. All of this is bullshit. Fuck. And they knew it was bullshit, and they knew that you fucking retards didn't care. They knew you didn't care, and that you guys would slurp it up. Oh my God, it's so crazy.
It really is. It is, man. It's nuts. It's nuts. Pisco, how do you feel, buddy?
Well, I feel great. I feel great because this was the right thing to do for the country. Because Joe Biden, as excellent as I think his presidency has been, and I think it's been excellent, he was not able to break that kind of feeling of him being way too old for the job, and has been showing signs that maybe he's not competent for the next 4 years. And so he was able to take this incredibly difficult step of recognizing that in himself with a little help. Let's be clear. It was definitely, the pressure was a big amount of it, but it was the right amount of pressure and the right decision, and an honorable decision that I think everyone needs to thank him for. Because now we do have the opportunity to win this election way more than we did before. And there's going to be an insane amount of hypium, and an insane amount of dollars I'm planning to donate to the new ticket, whatever it is.
You're going to single-handedly
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful now. Yeah, super hopeful. I think Steven and I are already planning a party for everyone to come to get hype. That's going to happen. You're all invited. And so, yeah, I'm ecstatic about the news.
Yeah, Andrew Weissman, he was I think he was a DOJ official. I can't remember. I want to say he was like a deputy AG or something like that. He compared President Biden's decision to President Washington, both in turning down power when he was general of the Continental Army, and then again after his second term.
What a contrast, huh?
God, can you imagine Donald Trump saying no to any? Just to be clear, and I would bet almost my life on this, not quite, but almost. If Donald Trump somehow didn't win the nomination on the Republican ticket, he absolutely would have ran as an independent. He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
absolutely, he would have ran as an independent.
Yeah, of course. Like, if anything, just to punish the Republicans, even if he knew he stood no chance of winning, just to screw the Republicans over.
Is
Now,
there?
all the
Wait,
Zoomers,
as a quick
you
question.
Zoomers- yeah, I want to talk to the Zoomers. Give me a second.
Okay, go for it.
The Zoomers, you have a responsibility right now. You have a responsibility to talk to all your other Zoomer friends and to turn out the youth vote for, if it's Harris, or whoever else it is. You have that responsibility. The Zoomers.
On God.
Anyway, sorry.
On God, period, as the kids say. I have no idea, but yeah.
As a quick criminal question, is there any criminal liability at all for defamation ever, or no?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Why?
I was just curious if it ever rises to like a criminal level if you defame somebody like so fucking hard. But okay.
Maybe if there's like a court order for you to stop and you violate the order.
Yeah,
it would be
sure.
like, yeah.
So, Pisco, also, while you're here, curious
Yeah.
about the threats coming from the Heritage Foundation, even Mike Johnson.
All garbage.
earlier
They'll
today.
all fail. They're not going to be successful. It's all bullshit. And guess what? If I need to go to court and write a fucking amicus brief, I'll do it because we're not letting them they're not going to get close to this. And it's not going to work. Trust me.
That what are they? Are they going to file to try to keep Kamala off the
Some
ballot?
bullshit. Yeah. I mean, like, you can already start to hear it from this corrupt Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, start talking about disenfranchisement, this or that, as though he gives a fuck when the person he supports was trying to disenfranchise the entire country on their electoral vote. So this is all bullshit, and the challenges are weak as fuck. They're not going to work. And you can rest assured that good lawyers, strong lawyers that support democracy, unlike these fuckers that try to coup the government, are going to stand between them and disenfranchising you this November.
Yeah, you're not standing between them. You're standing across from them in front of the 6-3 Supreme
True.
Court. Remember that.
I will never forget it. But
Yeah.
Mark Elias has said that he's pretty confident that these things will fail, which makes me feel a little better because he's like one of the top election lawyers in the country. But I don't know, man. I'm so cynical. I'm with Steven on this. Like, I feel like, couldn't they theoretically, I'm just trying to imagine, right? Because really a lot of this involves just running out the clock. So couldn't they file suit somewhere, judge shop, get it in front of like a Canon or a Casmeric or something like that, and just engage in legal fuckery?
No,
It's
you would
all
never
frivolous.
grant. It would all be like irreparable harm. There's no way they would grant. Well, no, I guess they would argue irreparable harm. That's why they have to be removed from the ballot. It would be unfathomable, I would think. But I said the same about criminal immunity.
It would
So
all be frivolous, and I'll put money on it. They won't work. Maybe there'll be a problem with Ohio legislatively, but I think the Democrats will win that challenge too. So no, I don't think it'll work.
okay.
Oh, that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. That's all to scare you. That's all to fearmonger. There is no official Democratic nominee yet. All of this is private internal politics. There's nothing. Imagine if Joe Biden were to die, right?
Sure.
If he died, what would be the case that, like, oh, the Democrats now can't run someone? That's complete lunacy. No, that's not how it works. And even, by the way, even if Biden had to be on the ticket, you could still vote the Biden ticket, knowing that it would be Harris. Mm-hmm. So this is all.
Wait.
garbage,
Can I ask
all
you a quick
fear-mongering.
question? Hold on. To confirm a nominee from the Senate, is that 51 votes?
Depends.
What? No, I'm sorry.
be
To confirm a
50.
Supreme Court, or I say 51 because
Supreme Court, yeah. The Supreme
It's just
Court,
a
you
simple
only need
majority,
51.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Do we agree? Sotomayor should absolutely retire.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like now, right?
Yeah.
Is she going to? Has anybody spoke about that?
I don't know.
Are we looking at a 7-2 Supreme Court or trouble? Like, I don't know why. I don't know. Yeah. I will.
should,
I
not
just
because
to be
it's-
clear, I will hate women forever. Okay. RBG already tested me. But if Sotomayor dies as well, and for no reason, like if Trump did win, it's like a 7-2 court, bro.
I just want to say Justice Sotomayor is a phenomenal justice.
Mm-hmm.
Her opinions are awesome. I still think she should step down just because of the nature of the threat
Yeah.
and what the court has been doing.
Yeah, she's 70 years old, and she's like a diabetic who needs a constant medic surrounding her at all times, of course.
Or otherwise, we
Yeah.
need to hire like fucking House has to follow this lady around with like at least like 3 different people who are blood type matches that can donate organs whenever needed. Okay, to keep her alive.
Because here's the thing, we all agree, like, let's say Trump doesn't win and let's say Vice President Harris wins, but I mean, right now Republicans are favored to take the Senate. It's not guaranteed, but it's a brutal map. We have to defend like 8 incumbent competitive seats, and they only need to flip 2 and to take the majority. And Jim Justice, the Republican candidate, he's going to win West Virginia, right? Because Manchin's leaving. So the odds are that they will at least take the Senate, even if we take the White House. We all agree.
Mm-hmm.
let's just be very clear about this, that if there is a Supreme Court vacancy 2 weeks into Vice President Harris's second term, not 2 weeks from the end, but 2 weeks into the beginning, that a Republican Senate will not confirm.
Oh yeah, that's what Pisco is saying. He doesn't think they'd confirm.
I agree. They won't.
I don't think he should risk it. I feel like she should step down. Yeah. Do you agree? Is there any good argument against the idea of, I don't know if we talked about this before, but just like every president should just get one Supreme Court pick or two or whatever, and then you just rotate them out? Is there any good argument against that?
What if you have more than one vacancies, like a bunch of other stuff?
Well, sure, but I mean, like you could slot it for then like the next president to like make it even or whatever. But I don't like the lottery. The Supreme Court lottery feels really stupid to me.
Yeah, it's silly. Trump got 3.
That's insane. Maybe 4. Like he's looking at potentially 4 if he did win this election, right? That's just insane.
But in one term, he got 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think
life would be different.
Let's be clear. I think he's guaranteed 2 more no matter what, because I believe Thomas and Alito will drop out.
If he wins, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
if he wins. Yeah.
Bet on that, folks.
So then he'll get to say he appointed a MAGA majority, right?
Yeah.
And don't you think, Stephen, just to be 100% clear, Donald Trump is way too old to be president. I mean, he's the oldest official nominee for a party. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah. Have you seen videos 100%. Of him talking prior? Even in the last election cycle in 2016, he was much sharper. He was much brighter. He didn't have as many weird name
and the polls show it, guys.
Over and over again. Listen, what Nikki Haley and Pelosi and all these things. Yeah, for sure.
100%. But it's not just the gaps. But again, this is really important because people used to talk about the previous Democratic presumptive nominee in the polls against him. Polls have consistently shown anywhere from 50 to 65% of the American people have serious doubts that Donald Trump is not meant to be fit to be president.
It's a good point. We really don't know. Like the black box of a Donald Trump presidency where like we can't see into who's running the show. Like he says that Project 2025 isn't what's going on, but who knows who's running things, really? I mean, there are moments where he doesn't know where the fuck he is.
Didn't they already admit that he wanted to do some military action and like either Milley or somebody else like was not doing so like he doesn't even have control of his thing. Also, have we seen him play golf recently? Is his handicap really the same as it was 10, 15, 20 years ago? Does he even have the same level of physical health? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Hey, on that note, did you ever hear Biden's banger line on that note? He's like, what's Trump been doing? Just riding around on his golf cart, filling out his golf score before he hits the ball. I just thought it was a funny line. But yeah, I mean, I do think that obviously the vice president, the vice president should be making this case. It'll be interesting to see how people who previously bitched about Biden react to this. Like, I cannot wait if and when Stephen ever
just to be
gets
clear,
back on Piers Morgan.
Nothing will happen. You understand that conservatives don't actually care about that. Like they don't actually give a fuck about the senility. Yeah. So they'll just like, if you look at Trump now, he's still sharp. And that'll be it.
78's the new 60 anyway.
But it's telling that Trump picked such a young vice president because it's clear that the American people are very concerned about his age, and that's something that like you should carry forward to everyone you know is like bring this concern of age. And
of course. Yeah, that's going to be 100. How many people did you hear saying over and over again, wow, is it really these two candidates? These are the two that we got? Oh, well, now you have a different one.
Now they're not.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see if people who are more centrist on this like recant now that they can't appeal to Biden.
That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say. That is funny though. That you think that people are going to recant. That you think people are going to walk back.
I'm not saying that they will. I'm not saying that they will. I think it will be funny content. I think it will be good content.
Okay. That's slightly more acceptable. Okay.
Yes. Or for people in real time to ask a follow-up question like, hey, so now that that's no longer on the table, now that you don't have to worry about Biden's senility, do you favor
Harris is 59 though? I mean, so she's a little old.
Yeah.
You know.
God.
Yeah. I do want to call out any centrist who was like, I'm not going to name any names, of course, but any centrist who was like, Biden, I can't do that. Now you have an opportunity to stick by your guns and condemn Donald Trump and to join the other ticket and to forcefully say, I support the Democratic candidate. I think that would be a great idea, and I think everyone who was kind of on the fence, or maybe even they said, I prefer Trump just because of how old Biden is, maybe now is the time to stick with your guns and your politics, what you say are your politics, and endorse the Democratic nominee.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
True. I hit that question at the end of I did an interview with Tom Bill Yu, the impact theory guy. Yeah, I asked him that at the very end. I wanted to get this question out. And I asked him before, I think it was the second to last question I asked. I was like, hey, just to be clear, if Biden drops out, and I think I asked, if Biden drops out and Kamala Harris comes back, will you seriously reconsider? And he did say, I got him to say, yes, I would seriously relook at the candidates or reconsider. So yeah, we'll see.
Play it back. Play back those tapes. Get the clips, get all of them. And honestly, it should be embarrassing for anyone who calls himself a centrist or who was just worried concerned about the senility of Joe Biden now to stand behind Trump or even be equivocal about it. Demand answers from them and push back hard.
Yeah, real hard. Even if that means you got to make fun of...
Burn some bridges. Oh, no, not that.
Well, you're both here because this was a question I had for Stephen earlier, and then we got sidetracked. But again, now that you've been diving deeper into the these Supreme Court cases and judicial cases in general, one of the things that Pisco and I constantly talk about, and I'm curious if your opinions on this have changed. I believe that in our current conception, the Supreme Court of the United States is effectively the most powerful branch, not equal, but is the top dog of the three. What do you think? Am I wrong?
It's hard to say like what there are so many checks and balances between them all. It's just hard to say. I don't know if I would say any branch is like, technically, I believe conceptually, I think Congress is supposed to be kind of the most powerful, but
it is. It is supposed to be.
But right? everything's power has its like cons to it, right? Like the legislature absolutely, undeniably has the most power, but it also like requires the most like inertia to overcome, in order to get that power executed, right? The Supreme Court theoretically can wield a lot of power, but it's kind of constrained theoretically by the Constitution.
Let's be clear, like in terms of what the founders intended, you actually find like the word co-equal doesn't exist in the Constitution, right? Mm-hmm. And Jamie Raskin and other constitutional scholars have really been leading the way on this, and really since Donald Trump became president, saying that the notion of three co-equal branches, it's kind of a canard, right? The branches are separate and they're all important, but Congress was always intended to be the most powerful branch. It's the one that can amend the Constitution. It's in theory got the final hand on top, like you said.
And you have to remember that for Marbury v. Madison, the Supreme Court was supposed to be the final say on resolving disputes for cases that would either come up federally or to resolve disputes between states or to resolve disputes relating to like treaties, I think. That's what the Supreme Court was supposed to do. And it was only judicial review. Yes. The Supreme Court technically wait, what?
I disagree with that reading that the Supreme Court like usurped itself and
I'm not saying it usurped itself. I'm just saying that it wasn't originally written, at least by text, that the Supreme Court had the power to declare a law from the legislature unconstitutional.
That's
right?
True.
That it comported. Because I think there were some, I don't remember the quotes, but some of the people that were originally when they were drafting the Constitution didn't think that Congress would ever do that. Well, Congress wouldn't pass a law that's unconstitutional. They can't. Or that, sorry, go ahead.
Here's my response to that real quick. I mean, you could imagine them coming up with something that said, it is emphatically the providence and duty of the legislature to say what the law is instead of the judicial branch, right? Mm-hmm. I understand that it's not explicitly written, but if you read the Federalist Papers, there's a reference to judicial review in one of them. I'm not remembering right now which one it is, but also there were other state Supreme Courts at the time that did have that authority, and the thought process is, and again, I don't have the analysis on hand, that the inspiration for the federal judiciary were those other state Supreme Courts. And so I do think that as envisioned by the framers in the Federalist Papers, that judicial review is like considered.
Okay, that could be the case. Considering that the Marbury case was that like 1807 or something? How early was that? It was pretty early, wasn't it?
It was an early case under
1803.
Marshall.
Sure.
It's a famous opinion. And it's one of the most, if you look at the fact patterns, one of the craziest opinions. Anyone who worries about like judicial ethics, just so you guys know, this was all about a commission that wasn't sent to Marbury under the Adams administration. By the Secretary of State was supposed to give away the commissions to these justices of the peace. And do you want to know who the Secretary of State was at the time of the Adams administration who failed to send the commission to Marbury? A little fellow by the name of Justice Marshall. And so why isn't Justice Marshall recusing himself in this case when he's like a fact witness of what happened? Who knows? There's a lot of that. And
but the early courts and the Supreme Court and everything was wild. It was way different. Yeah, it was a wild. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just say it was a different time back then, and some people think it was a setup case that set it up.
Even it seems like the court has changed like quite a lot over the history of the United States, not just ancient history either. Like I said, I was like setting aside an evening to read through that the Brown v. Board of Education case because I was curious like what all the arguments are. That's like an 11-page opinion. It's like a 20-minute read, and I'm like, oh, okay, interesting.
Did you not like it? You're against Brown v. Board?
Yeah, because Congress didn't make a law.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Congress didn't make a law, right? Isn't that what Roberts said? That we have to, or was it Alito that said that? No, it was Roberts that wrote that opinion. Congress didn't make a law enforcing equal protections from the 14th Amendment, and I thought that's what Section 5 said. That's the argument that we used to get rid of Section 3, saying that that was like I believe that was the central argument that they used to say that the states can't enforce this. Yeah, that was what Robert said. So I think equal protection should be thrown out the window unless Congress makes laws for it. Yeah.
By the way, all 9 Supreme Court justices are guilty for that shambolic opinion, Anderson. So I am disappointed that the liberals didn't dissent there. But that's just another reason why Sotomayor should. Never mind. Just kidding. But.
True.
Oh, how are you feeling, Stephen? Doesn't it feel like a huge relief? Tell me I'm lying.
No, not at all. And it shouldn't. You should have nervous energy. I think if you're looking at this honestly, it should be nervous energy. Like there's a lot of opportunity, like a lot of cool stuff it'll be the same thing I said like yesterday and over the past week. A lot of really cool stuff now has the potential to happen that couldn't before, but a lot of disastrous stuff has the potential to happen that couldn't before as well. Just who knows? Yeah.
Can you tell me your emotional reaction the moment you heard?
I mean, it's a relief that you don't have to worry about any of the Biden attacks anymore. And then it's wondering of like what the next. I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm a content creator, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of viewers today, and it's going to be a lot to talk about.
Isn't it crazy that no one even remembers that someone shot at Donald Trump?
Oh, I was just arguing earlier with Paul,
no one remembers it.
Yeah.
Like,
also,
like no one even.
Donald Trump passed a bullet. Okay, don't let people say Donald Trump took a bullet for this country, because if he took it, then how did the guy behind him get shot and killed? Okay, he passed that bullet on a dude behind him. I don't know how people are saying Donald Trump took a bullet when his ear got grazed and there's another dude behind him that got fucking killed. It's unhinged, but.
Does it matter to you?
It does matter to me, yeah, because it's weird when people say God protected Donald Trump that day, and it's like, bro, what about the dude behind him that got killed?
You are leaving out a critical part of the claim that Donald Trump took a bullet, because he actually said this at a rally, I think yesterday. I saw a brief clip. He said he took a bullet for democracy. That's a direct quote.
Yeah. Apparently, God can only shield one person
say a word,
at a time.
You're in enough trouble already.
I don't care. I will take the trouble. I don't give a fuck. Okay, I will.
You do care.
I'll take it all to embolden the liberals around me to be brave. Okay, you see these Laura Loomer tweets. You see these unhinged fucking statements that conservatives are making. Yeah, tell me where's all the conviction for the people calling those people? Oh, fuck that bullshit. I have
when they go low, we go
stop.
Medium.
Shut up.
We go medium.
No, shut the fuck up.
Wait, we can't go medium. You literally, this was your
Here's
idea.
the point. Listen, okay? They choose the battlefield, we'll win on the battlefield. Whatever they choose, we'll fight with the weapons that they declare, and we will defeat them, okay?
You're unhinged.
That's
You're
the
crazy.
rule. That's the rule, okay?
Usually I'm the bad cop. It feels good for once to be the good cop.
I mean, you agree with the substance of what he's getting at here, which is that there needs to be the forced expectation of symmetrical standards.
If you watch the actual video, the guy in the background steps on a blade of grass that belonged to that tree, okay? He leased that. He leased that blade of grass. Also, I'm so sorry too. I wish I would have watched this video. God, there's so much more I would have shit on Trump. I thought that there were shots that the next second Donald Trump got down, and then a second or two later, Donald Trump got up and raised his fist. I didn't realize he was on the ground for like a fucking minute, waiting for the all clear from 15 different people, and then spending 10 seconds finding his fucking shoes, and then getting up and raising his fist. The way that story is presented, I thought that the sequence of events was much shorter than him waiting for the all clear, finding his shoes.
Does this matter to you?
Yes, it does. It does matter. Yes, I think it absolutely matters. Well,
why?
Because people present this, and the average conservative in their mind, I don't care what you tell me, and I know this is true, the average conservative in their mind thinks that Donald Trump got shot, ducked quickly, and then rose up and fight with his fist in like 2 seconds. That's why they all say that, like, he took a bullet and he stood up and he continued to be brave. Every conservative in this country thinks that. Absolutely.
Why do you think it's important to fight that myth? I mean, like, it's just whatever.
Well, it's not. In the grand scheme of all the things to fight, it's not important. It's just another lie. Like, did Donald Trump have the largest audience in his inauguration? It's just another fucking lie. It's just going to keep track of these things, I think, because when you lie and lie and lie and lie, you have this fertile breeding ground for big lies later on when people spread them over time. And conservatives are the masters at that. Yeah. And he spent more time searching for his fucking shoes with his height inserts than he did, with his fist in the air screaming fight. Okay.
So you think that he has height inserts like DeSantis?
I think he does. Why was he so concerned about getting his shoes?
Maybe because he didn't want to step on any broken glass.
Oh, yeah? The Secret Service couldn't fucking carry him? He had like 10 agents around him.
He's a big guy. I don't know if you...
No, he's not. Ronnie Jackson, his physician, didn't he say that Donald Trump weighs like 190-something pounds?
Oh, there you go. Like he's like 6'3", right? 190? That's a healthy weight. He's good.
No, I mean, it is bullshit. Like, he's overweight, right? But they were just like fudging the information about him, fudging his height and weight. They were called out for it.
Now you're attacking his physical appearance, even though Steven has specifically said you're not to attack people's physical appearance. I didn't
attack his.
Hold on, wait. Excuse me. I'm 5'8". I wouldn't attack him if he's only 6'1". Okay, if he's like a manlet, if he's a 6'1" manlet, that's great. I support him. Okay, I'm just saying if he's not 6'3" and he's lying about it, that's something that's worth considering. I think considering how much shit they gave DeSantis over that. Didn't DeSantis literally go on PBD's show and they literally asked him about his height?
What the hell's PBD?
Paul, but the Iranian, inserted Iranian foreign influencer that spreads, Russian disinformation in the United States. That guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's super dumb. I saw him get owned by this conservative guy who hates Trump. I forget his name. Steve something. You know what I'm talking about, Jessiah?
Schmidt. Steve Schmidt.
Yeah, he
from Lincoln Project. Yeah, that was brutal. Yeah.
Brutal
he's also frequently on Piers Morgan's show too. They just had him
Piers
on.
Morgan, no spine whatsoever.
I totally disagree. What? I feel like he's got a huge spine. He just uses it to stand up for Trump.
Listen, he has criticized Donald Trump in the past.
True.
He said some things about January 6th, okay? But he also I just saw like he dropped an op-ed in the New York Post about why my phone call with Donald Trump last night makes me believe he is destined to return to the White House.
Who said that?
So, Piers Morgan.
He wants him to return. That's the thing that these centrists, quote unquote, never admit. I mean, just come out. Just come out and say that you support this fascist. Everything will make sense, right? The second that Piers says, puts on the MAGA hat, would any of us be surprised? Of course not.
Yeah, I'd be surprised that he was honest, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess that. Mm-hmm. I guess there's that. All right, in terms of next steps, do you want to see an open convention process, even if it's kind of a foregone conclusion, Stephen, where there's at least one other candidate? Or do you want it to be more anointing?
So this was my issue before. I think I said this. I think you agreed. The scary thing about like all the leaks and the disunity behind the scenes is that like if you're not on the same page, it's hard to move together with a common purpose. And the fighting and everything behind the scenes, I don't think was healthy for the Democratic Party. It wasn't good. Now that they've picked Kamala, hopefully they can all get on the same page and move forward. But having an open convention, doesn't it just invite more of that disunity?
Maybe. Doesn't it feel like we've broken the clouds? Like we were below a storm. And there was this hurricane. Everyone was down. Everyone was sad. And this very dark time. And all of a sudden, we burst through a cloud. And now we're 30,000 feet in the air. And now we can see the sun. Doesn't it feel like that?
No, not at all. But I understand why you feel that way. Yeah, no, not at all.
I feel like it's 3.5 months from an election, and we're still down in the polls and
Don't you have the hope now that la ganas? You know what ganas is?
No.
You're Hispanic, right, Stephen? Ganas.
Oh, yeah.
The will.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Don't
I knew
you have
that,
the
yeah.
will now? Yeah, you knew that.
I love your optimism. I wonder what IRI is thinking.
I'm not saying it's a done deal. There's a fight ahead, a metaphoric fight.
Yeah. What do you mean by fight? Turn down the fucking temperature, Pisco.
This is going to be tough.
You know what I feel like? Here's what I feel like. I feel like you were in the hospital and it's a little bit rough. The doctors are giving you about 6 months left on hospice. And you're like, but there'll be like 4 or 5 good months, okay? And then probably a rough month and you die, okay? And then the doctors came in and they said, listen, okay? We know that we said it was foregone. You're gone. However, there is a treatment, a combination of things that we can do. We can go for a full cure. It has a 15% chance of success, though. So there's like a flurry of excitement. And it's like, oh shit, okay, I thought it was a done deal, and I thought, oh, whatever, okay, all right, there's a thing, but it's like, whew, you know. And I'm not trying to map on precisely saying, oh, there's only 50% chance Kamala wins. I'm just saying like that's like the type of feeling that I have, where it's like something. Obviously, there's a lot of new potentials open up, but who knows?
You understand right now that Jimmy Carter's alive because of you, right?
I'm so sorry. I didn't know I would score 970 that day. Okay, I didn't know.
What I want you to do is go on to I Got Rhythm, 900 and above,
and release it.
And don't release it yet. 900 and above, and we're in a good place.
900 is so easy. Okay, I'll do it next time.
One thing we do insist on collectively as your pals: you cannot fucking travel for the next 3.5 months.
I know.
It's your ass in that apartment in Miami.
Except for the
party. You can DoorDash your shit, but there is no need for you to leave that apartment for any reason in 3.5 months. Every time. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a meme. But it's like a 1-to-1 ratio every time.
Bro, I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting in fucking New York and I check out my fucking phone that day and I'm just reading and I'm like, assassinate. There's no shot, right? This is not real, right? Oh my God. Yeah, Jesus.
I had a migraine and I woke up. Okay, no one's going to believe me, but I'm telling you 100% the truth. Because I had just got off a discussion with someone about the immunity case. None of you are going to believe me, but I promise you it's true. I had a migraine, so I took a nap, and I dreamt about an assassination attempt on Joe Biden. I wake up, I look at my phone, because I have to get ready for a dinner that I'm going to, and I see Vosh's stream title, Assassination Attempt, and I was like, oh, he's just referencing, I guess, the immunity? I couldn't fucking believe it, but it was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me.
Damn.
Yeah.
You're clairvoyant.
What do you want to kind of bitch?
Oh, I just saw you guys were talking about the election, and I was like, oh, I'll hop in. This seems like a fun discussion.
You're not part of this team, homie. You're not on the team.
I'm sorry.
He's on the team.
I'm just fighting.
He's on it.
How do you feel, buddy?
I'll be voting for Trump now.
Oh.
Now that the Democrats have disenfranchised me.
Yeah, I am voting for Donald Trump now. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Now that I've been disenfranchised by the Democrats, it's really they're the party of anti-democracy, and so now I'm going to vote for Trump in order to save our institutions.
This is just
on
like
that score,
January
real
6th.
Quick, Pisco, in all seriousness, because you've been complaining about this a lot. Can you, for the benefit of chat or anybody who's like going to have to fight this, metaphorically speaking,
thank you for clarifying metaphorically, because the rhetoric was very hot, but then you said metaphorically. Thank God. Go ahead.
Putting the bullseye on this
Jesus Christ.
Metaphorical bullseye.
Metaphorical bullseye. Okay.
Can you give a quick lawyerly explanation as to why this is not in any way anti-democratic?
Yeah, we did this a little bit before. I'll just do one real quick. No man rules alone. Donald Trump, sorry, I messed it up. Joe Biden is not entitled to the infrastructure of his party. He has no legal right to, or even philosophical right to, use the resources of the Democrats and have Democrats support him. Maintaining the confidence of your party is a absolute vital thing to do in almost every democracy, certainly in every parliamentary democracy. There are methods to get rid of a leader who does not have the confidence of his party. In this specific case, there were a bunch of contests that occurred. Yeah, millions of people voted in a private primary process that uses the kind of the systems of the state, and it's conducted sometimes by state officials, but these are private contests, and there are rules attendant to those private contests, which are what happens if a candidate decides to drop out. It was entirely Joe Biden's decision to drop out or not. That there was pressure and people using their First Amendment rights to voice their lack of confidence in the president and his ability to beat Donald Trump is totally par for the course. It's part of the rules. It's what happens, and there's nothing wrong with it. And to suggest that we should be bound by those previous primaries, supposing and on the condition that Joe Biden decide to drop out, is ridiculous, flatly ridiculous. Joe Biden has no entitlement to the funding or the support, and the fact that was starting to leave and that pressured his decision doesn't make his decision to drop out any more illegitimate or anti-democratic. The real election is in November, and maybe even before that, right? If you're doing the early voting and that kind of thing. And so that's the real election. This is all private, and it was all done above board, 100%.
Yeah, and I think one thing as well worth pointing out is that Biden had a running mate, Kamala Harris. He also, like Pisco said, he voluntarily chose to drop out. And so now picking his backup candidate, which is basically what a vice presidential nominee is, doesn't seem particularly anti-democratic. It seems like these institutions are set up to handle a scenario like this, so it's nothing worth worrying about too much. But I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of voters out there who are like, I think it's a very online position. The idea of like, well, because you took Biden away from me, I'm just not going to vote. I'm going to sit this one out.
Well, I don't even know how true. I don't even know how true the opinions are. Bro. Okay,
it's
sorry. Welcome to my conspiracy brain. I'm so sorry. I don't trust anything I see on X anymore, okay? I don't trust that platform. I think it's Russian control. I don't trust it. I don't trust X. I don't. I think it's crazy. We have no more insight.
Yeah.
Elon Musk openly and adamantly supports it. He's more partisan than Jack Dorsey or anybody involved with Twitter ever has been in history. We have no more transparency into it. There's no more reports about their communication. Like, it's, yeah.
If Zuckerberg, prior to the 2020 election, had been as vocal and outspokenly pro-Biden as Elon Musk is.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, folks. I don't know.
Or Jeff Bezos or Jack Dorsey or any other person, any other CEO. The Republicans all claimed, right? They were like, oh, these guys are all supporting the Dems. No leaks about it. Twitter files contain nothing about it. No evidence for any of this. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, every single other fucking tweet is shitting on Biden and supporting Trump. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, is it confirmed or am I making this up? Because I saw headlines saying that Elon Musk is now putting like $45 million into...
I believe it.
Trump referenced it at his speech. So yeah, I think so.
Like...
I think it's explicit now. He said that Musk is giving him $45 million a month too.
It's because of like high school reasons, because he wants to be popular with the cool kids. That's literally, I think he has the mentality of a child.
Yeah.
He really wants to have the likes and the tweets from people that he considers to be cool. That's it. And fuck Hulk Hogan and fuck Joe Rogan. You guys are all anti-democratic shills. You're sucking at the altar of Donald Trump, and it's gross.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was some reporting out that said that Musk was actually personally pretty upset that when Biden had his it was like an American EV showcase that he didn't invite Elon Musk, and apparently this actually really upset Elon Musk, which is what caused
hold on.
Musk to be.
Remember, wasn't one of Trump's major reasons for getting involved in politics was it 2011 or 2012 that Obama slighted him?
Obama roasted him, at the White House Correspondents'
and
Center,
he was so fucking ass mad. He sat there stewing so much, and I don't believe they ever had another one when Trump was in the White House, right? They basically axed all of them, right?
No, they had one, and then they stopped after that. Or no, excuse me, I'm sorry. He never showed up.
Oh, okay.
They would still have the correspondence.
They are the thinnest skinned motherfuckers that ever
they are.
existed.
Wait, my favorite thin skinned Trump thing is when he got rid of Michelle Obama's school lunch initiative on Michelle Obama's birthday when he was president. That's the most petty thing that Trump did as president. He waited until her birthday to get rid of her healthy school lunch initiative.
Or anytime he celebrates a holiday, he'll always say he'll always say Happy 4th of July, even to the losers and the haters, and he goes on the 7-paragraph screed.
About unity, though.
Yeah.
They are the thinnest skinned motherfuckers that have ever existed. The moment you criticize them at all, they block you. I'm talking about the Dave Rubins, the Redacteds. Every single time that you call them out on their bullshit, they whine and cry and hold on to it for the rest of their lives. I'm talking about Peterson, who can't get over the SJWs. That movement is dead and gone and buried, and he's still butthurt about that and all the criticisms. Same with Trump and the rest of them. They can't get over it.
Remember, this country almost descended into civil war when Starbucks put happy holidays on their fucking cups, okay? This was 10 years ago. And conservatives lost their minds. Happy holiday. Yeah, they couldn't handle it.
Harassing Target so much that Target got rid of LGBTQ merchandise. All these employees.
Yeah, don't paint your bridge this color, down with... Remember when they were against kneeling at the national anthem? Can you fucking imagine being upset that some people were taking the knee at the national anthem? At the same time, your supporters are all flying the flag upside down against the Democratic election. I can't think of a more incoherent position in terms of American symbology than that.
God. The hypocrisy. It really is. It's stunning.
Destiny, who should be the vice presidential
pick?
He's
gone.
Oh, he's gone. Rest in peace.
Yeah. He's never.
Who do you
back.
guys who do you guys think Destiny wants to be vice presidential pick?
Whatever the most like upvoted thing, or whatever the highest chances are in Vegas, that's who he'll go with.
You know
he
what
has
I think?
no spine. He won't go out of. He won't pick some weird candidate. He only does the conventional candidate. But don't tell him I said that.
Thank God you're not saying it in front of 17,000 people who are going to clip it and send it back.
They're not going to clip it.
You know, there's hold on. There's a young woman, progressive. She could unite the party that I think Destiny would love.
Alexandria?
Anna Kasparian.
God. Yeah, that's what
I
we
can't
need.
imagine what TYT's coverage is going to be like. I don't even know if I want to.
Well, they're
change.
going to be upset because the Democrats are all just going to vote for Kamala. Nobody's going to run against her. But I mean,
What'd you tell me that Jenks said about Biden again today? What'd you tell me he said?
What do you mean?
He said that he was gracious. He was like,
No.
yeah.
No, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
Biden.
That he's not a good or that he was not the best president.
Yeah, I think Jenks said something along the lines of like all this coverage about Biden's the best president of our lifetimes and all this stuff, like all that's complete nonsense.
Wait, that's
like,
unironically true though, folks. I mean, just think if you were.
I mean, that is unironically true.
If you're a millennial, right? I think Clinton was a bad president. That's just my opinion. Then you have Bush. I think Bush was a bad president. Then you have Obama. I think Biden was a better president than Obama. And then you have Trump. Need I say more? How is he not, at least for millennials, the best president we've ever had in our lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, Cenk was born in 1970, and I just thought, like, well, man, if you think about all the presidents since 1970, like, I mean, genuinely speaking, like, I cannot think of a better president than Biden in that period of time.
Would it be LBJ, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Clinton?
LBJ, I think didn't he leave office in the 60s? Yeah, he left office in 69, so it would have been Nixon
Ford,
all the way up to
Carter,
Biden,
Reagan,
I guess today.
yeah.
So
If you like
yeah, I mean,
conservatives, I guess Reagan, you could argue.
that's true.
Yeah,
Cenk was a Republican back then, so maybe he would say,
Oh, true.
Reagan was the best.
But like now he wouldn't say that. And so who would Cenk say was a better president in his lifetime than Joe Biden?
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
And then be willing to defend their
state.
record and be willing to defend their record. That's the other thing. Like, I mean, of all the stupid takes to have, like, I understand. I mean, at least with domestic policy, like, listen, I understand that they have legitimate, grievances with how the Biden administration has managed, aspects of foreign policy. But even, again, I use Mehdi Hassan as an example. You will find no one who is as consistently outspokenly critical of the president on foreign policy than Mehdi Hassan. And even Mehdi Hassan goes out of his way to say when it comes to domestic policy, Biden has no equal in modern American history. So,
Dude, I will say the thing that made my outburst against crazy conservatives worth it was watching Mehdi Hassan take out my arguments against Piers. I liked watching that.
It was all.
Yeah. I liked seeing that. Yeah. Hell yes. And then watching them both do like the British interviewer thing to each other and then both getting upset that they were both doing the British interviewer thing to each other was really funny to me.
Well, so what's funny was I tweeted that maybe Mehdi should invite Piers onto his show because he's got this thing called Zateo and he has his own like show on Substack or whatever. So that way he can bypass the Piers Morgan excuse, which is that I'm the interviewer, I'm asking questions, I don't have to answer questions. Mm-hmm. And then Mehdi retweeted it and said, "Hey Piers, what about it? Do you want to come on my show or whatever?" And I've been like pretty obsessively like looking up to see a follow-up. I wonder if Piers Morgan will do it. I wonder if he will accept.
No shot, dude.
You don't think
this
so?
is what like people like Elon Musk do, or whatever is Adrian Dittmer, or what was his name? I don't know, the fucking other guy.
Not
I don't want to
Elon
talk about politics. I don't want because they don't want.
Who's Adrian Dittmer?
It's an account it's a guy that tries to desperately sound like Elon Musk, and whether he is or isn't.
Oh, is that the guy
Elon
you
Musk.
talked to?
They don't want the questions, and Steven has unlocked the last chakra of the questions, where you don't move on until the question is answered, and you put them on the defensive. You put your questions that you want answered on the spot. And if he had a chance with Elon Musk in that call to ask his set of questions about whether they thought the election was stolen, they're scared of those questions because they're scared to answer it because they can't upset daddy. By the way, I'm also calling out Dave Portnoy, that dumb motherfucker, for calling out Biden's response window to the assassination attempt. He's another one of these idiots who doesn't know shit about politics, won't answer a single question. I guarantee it. everyone in this space is afraid, deathly afraid, to have an honest interrogation of their views because they know they can't answer questions honestly, because if they do, they'll upset daddy.
Yep. It's called whatever the next stage of audience capture is, what audience abduction, audience Stockholm syndrome. It's like the more severe version of that. Again, like it's all in that Dominion Fox suit. We're like, guys, Newsmax is taking our audience. They're going to leave us. We got to put on Sydney. We need to get the Kraken out. Like, yeah, it's on hand. And they know it's false the entire time. Yeah,
And this is all to all the stoolies. Go tell Portnoy right now. If he wants to prove that he's not just a Donald Trump sycophant, come on and answer some questions. See what you actually think about politics and what Donald Trump did to this democracy. He'll never do it.
Well, I think one factor to keep in mind is that they also might just be really, really stupid and not like.
Oh yeah, Portnoy is also a very dumb guy. I do like
Right.
Miss Peaches though. Miss Peaches, great account. Some of the pizza reviews kind of funny.
I mean, his pizza reviews are great, but he's probably not a great political commentator of our time.
He has some good takes on pizza. I think he overrates a few places. I think he underrates a few others, but yeah.
That's fair. Destiny, who should be the running mate?
I guess like the people are talking about Shapiro or
Sorry.
what or
Because he was the leading Vegas odds, and I predicted that's who you would first say.
or Whitmer or whatever, right? Like these are the two that I see, but people have said Whitmer said she's not interested, so yeah, I don't know. But probably somebody to shore up, like a swing state and some weaker party
While
electorate.
you were gone, Pisco was roasting you for picking
No.
he says he's going to pick the most conventional option or the one that the odds favor. That's a mark against you. How dare
No, I'm just saying.
It's a mark against you, Steven, for picking.
Look at these snitches.
You said it to 17,000 people.
They weren't
It's
going to
gonna get
clip
back
it.
to you.
You think
I
Steven
was.
watches
I was
his own
going to clip
VODs?
it. I was gonna clip
What?
it.
The claim is that I would pick whoever the odds favor?
Yeah.
Why is that an
Yeah,
insult? Am I supposed to take that? as an
I think
insult?
he was gently roasting you.
So
Like-
that's an admission. That's what we call an admission, folks.
That's
pizza in
the
New York, by the way.
best thing to do, right? I mean, what's wrong with that?
I don't think that Portnoy is wrong. I think it's either
Portnoy?
John. Yeah, we were talking about Portnoy before, but someone asked me about the best pizza in New York.
well,
and I
because
was
you
gonna
were
say-
just talking about me and not you.
I know. But
Can I reveal a thing real quick?
I can't answer that?
I went to a restaurant that Portnoy said had the best pizza in Miami Beach. I'm gonna say it was mid as fuck. It was not
It
really.
was
that
mid.
good.
I think I know which one you're talking about
Wow.
too.
Really?
I think it was mid. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I went to that exact same one.
Oh, where's Dan at?
think
Dan
so.
went with us. Wasn't that good? It was okay. Wasn't bad, but best ever.
But Lucali's and John's on Bleecker is good shit in New York. Those of you who know, if you know, you know. I don't think Lucali's is overrated. It's really good. Anyway, we can go back to you, Steven.
sorry.
You shield.
No. Go ahead. You wanted to say something that was really important to you. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say is, I think that you're gonna go with Shapiro. I think Shapiro is actually a good choice.
Okay. I don't have strong. I don't know anything about any of that. These are the names mentioned.
I also
don't
think
know.
Mark Kelly would be a good choice. Guy
Yeah, I've
that
heard
puts
him floated
Arizona,
too.
like- But that's like a valuable Senate seat, which is one of the reasons why I falter. But I think the presidency is just so much more valuable than anything else that I would be willing to sacrifice the Senate any day. I would sacrifice I would sacrifice like 100% chance at winning the Senate for a bump in 15% for the presidency. Easy. Do you deny that, Jessiah? Do you agree or disagree?
No, I'd probably pick that too,
That's
because
probably
just because you like if the positions reverse and Democrats wanted to do anything, they would need a president to sign it into law, because you'll never have a veto-proof supermajority probably like ever. So
Yep.
I'm just saying, why not have both? Like based on the preliminary things I've seen no reason to assume that Mark Kelly is such a good option that like there's no reason to put us in that position. You know what I'm saying?
I
feel like
think that's probably going to go in the calculus, and that's why I think that, like, again, who really does a VP pick matter that much? I don't know. You think it matters? Maybe.
I mean, on the margin, it could, and in
On a tight
such a close
election.
election
Yeah.
environment, I'm
Right.
sure.
So then get Shapiro in there. Why not? Try to shore up the Midwest, because that's the cleanest path to 270. We want Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. Just pick him or Whitmer, whoever you think. I don't know if they'll pick Whitmer though, because they're scared of sexism. Maybe.
Oh my god, it's the dumbest
What do you
thing
think?
ever.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what I think. I'm just saying that's maybe what the brilliant insiders are
Yeah.
thinking when they're coming to
I
that
mean,
decision.
I don't know. People have this weird, like, I feel like a lot of people I just really don't. I think if you're the kind of person who's like, oh yeah, I don't think America can handle a couple women being on the ticket. It's like, dude, that's like such an old school way of thinking. I understand, like obviously, there probably could be some margin of people who are turned off by 2 women being on the ticket, but you have to balance that with what is in reality a portion of independents and a lot of people who might be more inspired by 2 women being on the ticket. And I think as well, we're in such a polarized time that I really do believe that, like when I say that the Democrats could nominate almost anyone and probably still maintain at least our current level of polling, that probably is true. And so, yeah, I think a Whitmer Kamala ticket could be pretty good. You know, I think unfortunately, because it's such a short like time horizon, Kamala can't really pick someone who she could necessarily work with super well. She kind of has to pick almost like a more strategic choice. Because, you know, like you don't want like your president and vice president to like end up hating each other or something, but there's not really time to build a personal relationship there. So
yeah, I see that, but I think that Stevens deep down wants transportation mayor Pete Buttigieg.
I love Pete, but I don't think people like that style of candidate for like leadership president or whatever. I like Pete in the last primary.
You want to debate, bro? You want to debate, bro?
No, I want somebody who's incredibly intelligent and makes decisions with like logic and reason and empirical fact gathering and speaks like it and sounds like it. That's why I like Pete.
Yeah.
But you know, I understand you don't like him because he's gay.
Yeah.
It's fine. I get it. The Hispanic background and everything. It's all good. Don't worry. It's okay. We haven't spoken about it privately. I get it.
He's still said that to me too.
I know. Yeah.
That's true.
He speaks a lot about it behind the scenes. It's pretty gross.
I think that Harris Buttigieg ticket would be based. Be super cool. I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I'm really curious what like Kamala's platform will end up being, because when she ran in the primary, she didn't run as a relatively progressive person. Like I think she was out in favor of Medicare for all and the Green New Deal, and
very progressive, right?
Yeah. Now, of course, like online progressives will say she's just a right wing person who likes to lock up black kids, you know, and stuff like that. But when she actually ran, I think she did actually have a relatively progressive voting record, and she did have like quite progressive positions. Like when she ran for president in 2020, it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to be in favor of the Green New Deal and Medicare for all. So
am I making this up, or did she have the most progressive voting record?
I think people compared it to Bernie Sanders, and I think she and Bernie voted together like 95% of the time or something like that. So she was extremely, like if Bernie is like absolute most progressive, then she was like almost exactly as progressive as Bernie Sanders. But to be fair, I mean, those could have been positions of convenience, so I don't take those criticisms super lightly. It's just that, like, for instance, even on Israel-Palestine, I think there was a lot of reporting out that said that she was actually pushing the Biden administration to be even harder on Netanyahu than they were. And so, you know, we'll see, I guess, ultimately what her posture is as a presidential candidate. But, of course, she's much better than Donald Trump. I mean, no matter what, basically. So.
Well, that's a question, too. To the extent that, baggage over Gaza has weighed Biden down at all, do you think that will transfer to Harris? Like, will Harris be seen as culpable?
I don't know how much I don't know how much Americans care about foreign policy. When it's dominating the news cycle, we do, but I don't know if that'll carry through to like the actual presidential election. I'm not sure. Who knows? Sure.
Well, but to Econoboi's point, I'm just thinking about the margins, right? Like, it's going to be such a tight election. You want to do everything in your power to like min-max support. I wonder to the extent that there's been pushback at all on Biden, if that would transfer to Harris.
I mean, it was genocide.
And then the question
Joe.
is, would it be? Then the question is, would it matter? Like, there's going to be blowback. I just don't think it'll be outcome determinative.
It was genocide Joe, not like I don't think Kamala was really ever getting a lot of heat because of the Israel-Palestine issue. I mean, to be fair, she might, because she's now the presidential candidate, and I'm sure that's a question she'll have to answer. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what people like Rashida Tlaib, because it feels like a lot of the criticism of the Biden administration has been on Biden specifically. So it'll be interesting to see what like a Rashida Tlaib type will do now that Kamala is the candidate.
She's not.
I'm just not sure.
She's not the candidate yet, but the presumption.
Well, I mean, come on, let's be real. She's got locked up.
I think the fact that so many different constituencies are coming out to support her right now, even if you were to have another candidate, well, one, I think it's going to disincentivize any other candidate to come out, because number one, coming out now as the number one pick will undermine your consideration for the VP pick, which everyone will be gunning for. And so the same kind of forces that were at play that were kind of pressuring people not to step up in the actual primary, I think will also be at play for Harris.
Yeah. Well, and then you've also got the fact that like if there are serious candidates do they want to throw their hat in the ring right now, or would they rather wait for a more stable time like 2028?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, right now, if you're running against Kamala, you're running against the endorsement of Biden, the Obamas, the Clintons, and probably every major Democratic donor.
Did Obama endorse?
I believe so. I could be wrong. I thought I saw that, but I mean, even if he didn't, just running against the endorsements of true fake news, even running against the endorsement of Biden and the Clintons and what is probably virtually every major Democratic donor and the Congressional Black Caucus. I mean, I don't know that you'd have such a narrow window for victory, I think, if you actually came out and decided to run against Kamala in the convention.
Is this tweet?
Pisco, you know more than...
Wait, I'm sorry, real quick. I'm sorry, because I hate this guy because he's another Russian agent. What a disgusting tweet.
Oh, no.
Orca?
Konstantin Kisin. You couldn't write a better finale to the last 8 years than a demented president resigning and handing over the candidacy to someone who was picked because she had a vagina of color.
Disgusting. Hateful.
Oh my God.
Kamala's experience, like in government as a prosecutor, like compared to
Trump?
Yeah, or yeah, like
through the government?
Yeah, like Trump is literally. I will die on this hill.
Trump is literally a self-made man, Destiny.
Do you know why Donald Trump right now is leading the ticket? Why he was elected in 2016?
Because he earned it.
It's because he had a fucking TV show. That's the only reason. Without The Apprentice, Donald Trump is never president. Like literally.
Which he earned.
Shut up.
Thank you. You have no argument against it.
Constantine, he would never, like, there is no one in the Democratic Party, I'm convinced. Maybe Joe Manchin, and he's not a Democrat anymore, he's an independent. Maybe Dean Phillips, and that'd probably be pushing it. There's nobody that these centrists would accept. Nobody.
No.
There's not a single person that they would full-throatedly endorse.
No, there is one person they would endorse, and that's if the Democrats chose RFK.
Right. But he's not a Democrat, right?
RFK.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no, you could get, I'm trying to think of like maybe Josh Gottheimer or somebody like that. I'm trying to think of somebody as centrist as possible in the Democratic Party. Like, who's a centrist Democratic senator at this point?
They're all just liars and grifters. I don't buy any of this. It's all garbage. RFK, by the way, is a Trump supporter too. He's the same shit. I totally 100% believe that RFK would trade like his entire candidacy to be Secretary of State or any other position in the Trump administration. They're all grifters.
Yeah, I mean, well, probably, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be, I don't know, it will be interesting to see how the polling shakes out with Kamala being the actual head of the ticket, because I think all the polling is it's hard to disaggregate all the polling available to us because Harris is like inexplicably tied in all this polling to Biden. And so when she actually gets out on her own, it'll be interesting to see not only how she does relative to Trump, but also how she does relative to Kennedy. Like, it'll be interesting to see if the dynamics of him as a third party candidate change significantly now that Biden isn't the top of the ticket. Like, will she be able to pull more Kennedy voters from Kennedy and make him more of a spoiler for Trump than for Kamala? I don't know.
I think she will be able to. And one thing I want to respond to that Constantine guy. What did he have to say about J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance is a junior senator from Ohio. What experience does he have?
He probably
wrote a
didn't
book
say
about
shit
Mima.
or celebrated it.
They don't say shit.
No.
Whenever you're talking about like the lack of political experience or favoritism or nepotism, holy shit, holy garbanzo beans.
Look at the fact that I'm screaming into the wind. No, I mean, like, we talk about like bad rhetoric and how unfair it is that people malign Trump and call him Hitler and shit. I mean, J.D. Vance literally felt like he was Hitler, literally, and he's his VP, right? Or Donald Trump, literally wrote a check, max contribution, I think, right? $5,000 check to Kamala Harris in 2011 for her fucking campaign to reelect her as the Attorney General. I mean, you had Donald Trump showing up in pictures with the Clintons at their fucking wedding. You've got like, there's just so much stupid shit. Like but they have no rules. They have no rules. That's why, I will reiterate it again, when a conservative comes up to you and he tries to scold you because you're not being fair or you're not being held account to some rule or you're not living up to some standard, you never, ever, ever take conservatives seriously on all of this. You never take a conservative seriously on any of this, ever, okay?
I mean, I think in some regards, though, the the flailing to try and come up with like any attack that might stick. Oh, she's DEI. She never earned her position. Oh, she's Cobb Mala, this and that. I think that what that shows is that, or like, oh, the Democrats are actually anti-democracy because of this. It's truly showing the attempt to just try and throw shit at the wall and just hope that anything can stick, because Kamala most likely is just not as polarizing a candidate as Joe Biden, and it is like structurally going to be more difficult to tear her down. They say that, but like Joe Biden, aside from the senility stuff, I guess after this last debate, was also like not divisive at all, right? Notice that they hung on to that one picture of him in that one speech for the entirety of his fucking presidency. The one with the red light behind him, the zoomed in one. And it was like, even if you listen to that speech, he's like, it's not all Republicans, guys, okay? Just the MAGA, the ones that don't support the election results are the threat to democracy, which they are. But like, it doesn't really matter what you are. They'll invent or make up anything to attack you. It's unhinged.
I got one other thing to say. One other thing to say. New York Times, get your shit together, New York Times. We did what your editorial board asked for. Get it together. Get on the team. We know what's going on.
I hear you.
Stop your shit.
Do you follow the New York Times pitch bot on Twitter? Pisco?
Yeah, I do. I do.
That guy's fucking funny. And I haven't checked his page, but I imagine he's got some funny ones too, of like why Kamala Harris should also drop out for the sake of democracy. Steven, did you ever watch The West Wing?
I've seen clips of it, but no, never even a full episode.
Okay, well, it is in its first 3 or 4 seasons. I do think it's one of the best TV shows in American history. It's really, really good.
Wow.
Aaron Sorkin, the guy who created The West Wing, and some other like really good, like I think it was The Newsroom or America's Newsroom or something like that on HBO. It's really good. He's got a really good mind for TV. He wrote an op-ed for the New York Times. Pisco, have you seen this one?
Oh, did he say we should nominate Mitt Romney? Sorkin, get it together, Sorkin.
Yeah. So Steven, he's like, listen, people have been asking me how I would script the West Wing finale to this election, because the West Wing is so idyllic and it's got a good faith Republican Party and an impeccable president. It's political fantasy.
Yeah.
And he said what the Democratic Party should do is persuade President Biden to withdraw, and then, for the sake of unity, nominate Mitt Romney, a Republican, as the Democratic nominee, as a gesture of unity, to unite the American people. Like, even this guy, who is presumably like a dyed-in-the-wool liberal, thinks that like they're so horny to appeal to Republicans that what Democrats should do is not elect a better Democrat or a more electable Democrat. It's just to elect a different type of Republican. So in a way, as far as I'm concerned, this further reinforces what we've been bitching about here and what you've been bitching about here. Like, even like, it's not just them. There are people on our side of the aisle who feel like we have to bend over. Like, we don't just meet in the middle. We have to go all the way up to them and give them 90% of what they want.
And keep in mind, publicly, you never, ever, ever hear these conversations from conservatives. Well, hold on. Are we going to lose the center? Are we going to lose liberals on this one? And in the behind-the-scenes stuff, right, for the Dominion Fox News stuff, it's what lies can we tell so that we don't lose our conservative base to like even more further right publications. There's never a consideration of like, well, are the moderates not going to trust us anymore? Like, they don't even consider it. Yeah, they only bang the war drums on their side and attack the other. There's never a consideration for people in the middle there.
Right. Did anybody prior to J.D. Vance being selected as Donald Trump's nominee, think about this, were there, maybe I missed them, maybe they were out there, were there calls by major conservative figures or Republicans that Donald Trump should nominate, I don't know, fucking Chuck Schumer, or, somebody like that, like a Democrat, to try to appeal to the other? No, of course not.
Well, there were a lot of calls on Twitter that were very upset, to be fair, that J.D. Vance's wife was brown. They did complain about that.
True.
I don't know how mainstream that got in the Republican Party. There's a lot of talk on Twitter over that. They really didn't like the fact she was Indian, but
Right, but
when Steven says a lot of talk on Twitter, he just means Nick Fuentes. See, that's his.
No, there were a few really big tweets and a lot of discourse over it. Now, but I don't know. It wasn't like lawmakers. It wasn't like mainstay Republican parties. Also, I don't know again what I even trust on fucking Twitter, but yeah.
Well,
look,
actually,
the right realizes they reveal they hate Indian women. We nominate an Indian woman. It's perfect. It's poetic.
True.
That's how it should be.
Wait, didn't Hutch join?
Yeah, Hutch joined, but then he said he
Steven's
realized that
banned on
Destiny was banned on Twitch.
Lol.
For his
Crazy,
antics,
huh?
actually.
Yeah.
So Twitch is
For hate speech.
unbanning Donald Trump, but Steven is still banned.
And Sneeko.
Sounds like the
And
clip-
also, but I do want to say, finally, Twitch respected me a little bit, and I do appreciate it, that
Yeah.
when Nathan was making threats against my life, he was the first person to get banned from Twitch for making threats against my life. Not the actual guys.
Wait, your son was banned
Yes.
from Twitch?
Not the other guys
The
that were
whole
saying,
Borelli
when I see
family.
Destiny, it's
You're
going to be
kidding.
on site, okay? Or that Destiny's family should have been killed to prevent slave owners from ever, like, making children. None of those guys
You're lying.
got,
Where
no.
are you?
He got
Wait.
permabanned, or indefinitely suspended, but yeah.
You didn't see this piece?
Thank
though? Yeah, this is
God. Thank
hilarious.
God. Thank you. Twitch is finally
He got
protecting
banned-
me.
He got banned for threatening you?
I think so, yeah.
Nathan like
What did he
cocks
say?
a gun and says he's gonna kill Destiny and then leaves the room.
Why
and
does
then
he have a
gets
gun?
banned.
Isn't he like 12?
Yeah, it
he's
was a real
13. Okay. It wasn't a real gun.
Was that a gun?
It wasn't
Oh.
a real gun.
No, it was real. Don't
Yeah,
let Destiny
true.
lie to
You
you, Pisco.
gotta be careful.
No, that's pretty hilarious though. The whole Borelli family banned
Okay.
from Twitch now.
Uh-oh.
The other hot question: President Biden was supposed to have a second debate with Trump in September. Will
no.
Trump debate?
No.
No, I don't think
Trump
he
is
will.
going to say that it was anti-democratic and he doesn't support it, and he's not going to give air to it. He's not going to give any oxygen. Yeah. And all the Republicans,
such a
every
bad
single
look.
Republican that screamed about how important it was to have debates and how we need to have these democracies, all of them are going to say, oh, actually, I agree with Trump. We shouldn't have any debates. That's true, because they have no values and they have no principles.
Dude. That would look so. I mean, I guess it would look bad to a certain audience, but yeah, you're right. Probably
To
the
who?
Republican
Who?
base
To
isn't
what
gonna
audience?
care.
Not to any Republican. No Republican. Every single
Right,
Republican.
not the
Remember, when
Republican base.
Donald Trump says things, okay? You remember Erythropro's dilemma or whatever? I don't remember the name. Is something good because it does God command things because they're good, or are they good because God commands it? Well, for Trump, him being a god, we decided that things are good when Trump says they're good. There is no goodness before Trump says it. But once he says it, everybody gets the orders beamed into their fucking brain, and then it's lockstep. Oh, he said this thing. Well, now we all of a sudden support this thing. Do we like Russia today, or do we not like Russia today? Do we have a strong foreign policy today, or are we isolationists today? Whatever the fuck Trump says, it's 100% like lockstep with every conservative immediately after. Yeah.
Kamala debates RFK Jr. on a stage, destroys him, and that's the debate. Easy.
Yeah. Harris,
Why not?
she's like improved her speaking pattern too, in terms of like not sounding, I don't know, mumbling or incoherent.
Do not come.
There was a time where she was kind of giving word salad, but now I feel like she's direct, she's on point, she gets it. She trained.
Pisco.
I mean,
She's ready.
She's been
when
in the
when you
spotlight
get
for a
some
little
free
bit.
time, Pisco, you should know that you're the man you respect above all others for political commentary, Professor Alan Lichtman.
Oh.
The
just put out-
keys.
The keys.
put
Wait,
out-
I'm sorry, real quick, because I don't have a laser. Let me read this real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Donald Trump 1 minute ago, 16 minutes ago. 16 minutes ago. Does anybody really believe that Crooked Joe had COVID? No, he wanted to get out ever since June 27th, the night of the debate, where he was completely obliterated. That was the big moment in Joe Biden's demise. That was the point in time when Joe was revealed for what he is, an incompetent man who should have never been president. Joe Biden is not fit to serve. He's destroying our country. 1 minute ago, my debate with Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, was slated to be broadcast on fake news ABC, the home of George Slopadopoulos,
Slopadopoulos.
sometime in December.
What a fucker.
Now that Joe not surprisingly, has quit the race, I think the debate with whomever the radical left Democrats choose should be held on Fox News rather than very biased ABC. Thank you,
Why not?
DJT.
Do it. Fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah. Fox has hosted debates before. I mean, it's
Do
not
it.
like they are disastrous.
Yeah, but I
Big
think
stats.
if they do it, I don't know what those rules will look like, or if Donald wants them to do it. I don't know what the communication behind the scenes will even
We'll
look
just
like.
make them good rules. Whatever. Just agree to the rules. that
Yeah,
we-
but will
rules are-
Donald Trump agree to good rules?
I don't know about
I mean, what rules could he ask for that, like,
She doesn't
would
get
be
a
that bad?
microphone. I get to mute her microphone.
like, no
She says
microphone.
things I
She's
don't
not allowed to be
like.
on stage. She has to sit in the audience.
You can't talk about my record or things I've said in the past.
Let's.
Yeah.
But at least shows that he seems to be willing to do something.
Yeah, but to Steven's point, he can publicly say this shit. He can indicate, hey, listen, I am willing to debate whoever. It just has to be on home turf. And then the vice president could just call his bluff and be like, yeah, sure, Donald, whatever. And then he would change it tomorrow, and Republicans would
bad,
forget
then.
all about it. You know?
Fuck it. Make
Whatever.
him look even worse.
Good development today, boys. Really good. This was episode 5 of Live and Learn, just minus
Yep.
Hutch. But yeah, thank you all for being here. We're gonna end the stream right now, and yeah, have a great rest of your weekend.
Shut up.
Yeah.
There you go. Rest in peace, Pisco. Well, Destiny, wait, what do you think about this, though? Because you were,
Wait, one last thing. The keys, the 13 keys. What's the key for leaving the race?
That's
Or
the
almost getting
incumbency.
shot?
That's
It's the incumbency key?
Lichtman has made it clear that in order to satisfy the keys, Biden should resign the presidency such that Kamala is the incumbent and
she gets the
retains the
keys.
incumbency key.
That's the formalism he's going with. All right, whatever. I don't like that analysis, but bye.
Pisco hates Alan Lichtman. That's his
All right,
least
I'm
favorite
out.
person.
Econoboi, Steven, good to chat with you guys. You have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
I guess I'll leave too. I don't want to talk to just Destiny now
Wow.
that Jessiah and Pisco are gone. But all right, see you later. Have a fun rest of your stream, my dude.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yep, sure. What's up?
Here's something that I'm curious about. Okay, first of all, tell me if you feel like this is a fair or accurate summary. The big issue at the border right now is the fact that the way that our laws are written, anybody can basically just walk up and ask for asylum, and they're basically guaranteed to get in the U.S. and then get a ticket for a court date. That it's a huge issue right now. Do you agree that that's a fair summary or no?
Yeah, on our Policy 3 Wonks podcast, we did an episode on the border, and that does seem to be the issue where it seems like there's essentially I honestly I guess it's just a realization that this is the case that you could go through the lengthy sort of legal immigration process, or you could just try to sneak in to the border. But then there's a realization that it's you could just claim asylum.
Yeah.
And because the asylum process is so backed up and takes so long, even if you get kicked out of the country, you still get several years of working in America.
Can you tell me why? Why did this just become a thing? Why weren't people abusing this 10 years ago? Or what? Did something significantly change about asylum seeking, or why? Or did people just realize this, or what?
This would be conjecture, but if I looked into it, I would assume that it would be because when Trump took office, he took such an incredibly hard stance on illegal immigration that, because illegal immigrants aren't stupid or anything. They have there's clear strategies for immigrating to the United States in an undocumented sense that spread around to people who want to enter into the country. And my assumption would be that when Trump took office, there was an understanding that, well, hey, you can't really just sneak into the country as easily as you used to. However, there is a legal process for claiming asylum that you can take advantage of in that circumstance. And that's where the Remain in Mexico policies start to come in, where it's hey, if you want to seek asylum, you have to stay in Mexico, this kind of thing. And so my assumption would be that's where it kind of started to, be popularized, and maybe COVID has something to do with it as well. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reform that probably needs to happen to the asylum seeking process. Alex Narasto, in a conversation I had with him a long time ago, one thing that he pointed to was that the people perceive problems where there is chaos. And so even if the problem at the border is because of people taking advantage of a legal process, that because it causes chaos to have so many people coming into the country, they're going to perceive that as a very chaotic and poor process. And so if all we did was just liberalize work permits and allow people to come in a more orderly process instead of having them all stack up into one, asylum seeking or refugee process, that would probably lead to a lot less polarization on the border, because people just wouldn't see a chaotic process. They would just kind of, maybe there'd be some notion of immigrants taking work visas, but that's a much less apparent problem than a bunch of people stacking up in an asylum process. So.
Yeah, the problem is that I feel like liberals don't have that strong of a position on immigration because it just seems unsolvable. It seems like nobody wants to come together to do anything. And then conservatives don't have a coherent position on it either. So it's I don't know if there's nobody seems to know, I don't think anybody even knows what they want immigration to the United States to look like. Conservatives seem to say they want nobody except for high skilled workers, which is equally retarded as saying you only want low skilled workers. All workers are valuable. And then all they say is liberals want open borders, but I don't know any poll that shows that liberals want open borders. That's a fictitious position. So immigration is a very annoying thing to. Yeah, nobody has there's no serious conversations on it. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, I don't know. I guess it's similar to Israel-Palestine, where like you have said, well, what it's going to take with Israel-Palestine is leaders who come together and are willing to concede things. And I think that, and in some regards, take political hits for doing so. And I think that with the undocumented immigrant issue, I think what it's going to take is just some coalescence of political circumstance such that we create a seriously expedited path to residency for all of these undocumented immigrants, and then probably reform the asylum process, but also reform our broader immigration process so that if you're basically just an immigrant who wants to come and work here, that's not like an impossible process. Because again, like when conservatives talk about this problem, it's like, well, why are people choosing to go through the asylum process? Well, they're doing that because it's just the easiest way to come here and work for the most part, right? It's not like immigrants have super easy access to welfare benefits or anything like that. I mean, you can look at, how much welfare immigrants take in and how much they pay into the systems. It's not really bankrupting us in any sense.
Well, not even bankrupting. I believe the largest piece I've read on this, I think I have this link to my doc, shows that counterintuitively, illegal immigrants are either neutral to positive impacting on fiscal on budgets. And the reason being is because, like you said, oftentimes they have either fake social security numbers or none. So they're just like, they're paying taxes sometimes into systems, and then they don't actually get anything back for it because they can't access any of those like welfare benefits or anything else. So they just end up,
or the fact that like, if we understand that the welfare state is mostly a system to help non-workers, which is definitively the case, our two biggest pieces of welfare spending that we do, like half the federal budget or some crazy percentage, 40% of it is just Medicare and Social Security. Even if you were to allow in...
I don't know if I would say half. Isn't it like 2/3? You're talking about, that's essentially all entitlement spending, right? Or is there entitlement spending that's not just Social Security and Medicare?
The last I checked, don't we spend like about $2 to $3 trillion a year on both of those programs? And I think the whole federal budget is maybe $5 or $6 trillion.
Really?
So I'm not sure what
is our discretionary. I thought that non-discretionary was like 2/3 of the budget and then discretionary was like about 1/3 approximately.
Well, no, nonetheless, it's just a huge percentage, obviously, of our spending is just helping elderly people basically stay out of poverty. And when you consider that, if you were to allow in all these immigrants, they necessarily wouldn't drain the system because they're all workers. They're working, right? They're not a bunch of old disabled people who are immediately going to go on to benefits. They're prime age workers. Right. It's one of the reasons why people say, oh, immigrants are more likely to commit crime. Well, they're more likely to commit crime because they're younger. Right. These are young working people. And so those people pay into systems more so than they take out of them, because welfare is not a system to give poor people money. It's a system to give non-workers money. And so you let in a bunch of workers, you're going to be able to fund your systems a lot better. So the fiscal arguments have obviously always been pretty crazy. Like some conservatives will say, oh, well, what about all the kids that go to public school? It's like, yeah, but those kids are fiscal multipliers, right? Because you invest in their education and then they become workers, right? Like it's not like kids just go from school to being immediately disabled and unable to work, right? This is a huge misunderstanding of the welfare state. But honestly, it's probably not a misunderstanding. It's just an excuse to keep brown people out of the country, right? It's just, I think a lot of it just comes down to, frankly, just like racism. I think that a lot of conservatives who are super duper against immigrants, they just really don't like basically like non-white immigrants coming into the country for the most part, right?
It's just weird and dumb, and it's based on a lot of weird protectionist ideas that like immigrants will come in, and even when our unemployment is at like 2.9%, they're still somehow like stealing all the jobs, and Americans can't work, and it's just like it's just dumb, unhinged. Yeah,
it's totally ridiculous. But anyway, I mean, overall, immigration is obviously a relatively big problem. But I mean, what people have to keep in mind is that the only reason that America is a world superpower is because of a liberal immigration policy, right? I mean, imagine if, to the white nationalists out there, like imagine if imagine if the only stock of people in America was only ever like the Anglo-Saxons that like came over from the UK. And we didn't have the huge waves of German, Irish, Polish, Italian, Mexican, Indian, Chinese immigration across, we would be a country that would have like 25 million people, and we'd be just as irrelevant as a country as like fucking Belgium or something, right? Like we wouldn't be a serious country without immigration. And so it's obviously just it's just a ton of fear mongering. But I guess it is funny that somebody named Nick Fuentes is super against.
All of them. They're very, very racially diverse. Yeah,
very diverse group of white nationalists.
They are indeed. Yeah.
what are you gonna do? But anyway, all right. Anything else? Destiny, it was fun talking.
No, see what happens. I love you. Be careful, bud.
See you, bud. Bye.